Casey Daly,
Present.
Vice Chair Amaya,
Present.
Commissioner Curry,
Present.
Commissioner Martindale,
Present.
Commissioner Weston, Commissioner Baxter, Commissioner Olivius, and our staff liaison, Ms. Fortune.
Yes,
Is that right?
Present.
I'll say it right. And then Chair Commissioner Lewis is here. We have a quorum. We have one public comment. Ms. Treasurer Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's so good to see you. So I wanted to come today because when you have not met in 6 months. Prior to that, you had not met till October of 2023. And then before that, you hadn't met since February of 2022. And for me as a resident, that is a huge concern because this is the Citizen Oversight Committee. And when Measure S was brought forward in replacement of Measure Z, one of my oppositions to this was one, citizen involvement was whenever they called it. And two, this is an absolutely unrestricted fund, which means there are no line items, there's no prior dedications to any particular services or plans like there was in Measure Z, which made it more, I guess, more oversight really. So today, now that Measure Z is projected upwards, and I haven't seen the numbers, of $53 million for our community and taxpayers at large, I hope that you as a committee will press more to meet more. And I know you're setting a schedule, but what I know is that some meetings are constantly canceled. I am not in favor of these type of meetings taking place at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, any more than I am a councilman meeting, because people are working, you guys are working, some of you are retired, and welcome Mr. Daly to your new appointment. I can see that Stotty is not here, she's a new appointment. So these things are really important for the community because you are representing it. And today's agenda, only the basic portion of the agenda was posted. There was no backup material. So what you guys are seeing, and you're gonna see that budget that Ms. Gutfield's gonna lay out, wasn't posted by the city clerk. So I am glad to see this is being recorded because previously you only had one meeting being recorded, but at this point, what I really want to promote is the utmost of transparency. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I know that you're also seen on this side, and these are just some of my concerns as president. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any comments from the commission?
I'm definitely in agreement, sir. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your expression as a resident and as a concerned citizen. And we're definitely going to be taking into account to meeting more so that accountability can also be shared from each ward. Thank you.
Now I want to open up the consent calendar to review our draft minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion, if there's no corrections, to move these minutes forward?
Mr. Chair, I will be abstaining.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Daly will be abstaining.
If there's no objections with our board, or do you need more time to review? Board? No, that's okay. If you need more time, that's fine. I'll just wait a moment. Before I make my motion. Reverend Veronica making a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Martindale, can I have a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Amaya. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one abstention from Commissioner Day. Motion passes. Second item on the consent calendar is introduction of our new member on the Measure as Citizens Oversight Committee. I want to give the floor to Commissioner Day for a quick introduction.
Wonderful. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you. My name is Casey Daly. I live here in downtown. I live in the first ward. I've lived in the city since 2004. Lived downtown on my property since 2010, and I feel like I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment because I have the privilege of serving on this commission, the planning commission, the charter commission, the downtown commission, and the general plan commission. So Councilmember Sanchez, those of you guys, I don't know, but anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for welcoming me.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Daly. Now another introduction of a new member, the mayor's appointee, Ms. Stacy Olivas, is that right?
That's correct. Stacia Olivas, pleasure meeting everyone. Probably give you guys some background as well. Raised here in San Bernardino, part of Ward 3, grew up behind Valley College, went to Valley College, graduated, and then stayed within the local area. Right now I serve the San Manuel Tribe, the Director of Strategic Planning and Services. And I wanted to find ways to dedicate time to my own community. So that's why I'm here, and this is why I'm taking this appointment.
Yeah, welcome to you both. I'm looking forward to working with you both on this commission. Thank you so much. Now we have a presentation of a summary of the 2024-25 adopted budget.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Jeannie Fortune. I am the interim Director of Finance for the city. Because you are a Measure S committee, I want to commit to actually every time we have a meeting, we provide you with an update. What is happening with the budget, what we have spent the Measure S funds on. So what we wanted to give you was just a preliminary overview of the budget that was adopted for 24-25 by City Council. And of course, presenting with me, I'm sorry, is our Budget Division Manager, Ms. Zuiba Ruiz. Yeah. I want to do that first. Okay. So when we prepare and develop our budget, of course, we definitely aligned it with the City Council's strategic goals. That is improved operational and financial capacity. During development, we always take into consideration the resources we have before we develop and review and propose that budget. Of course, it's always aligned with leadership and a unified community. Definitely always thinking about the improved quality of life. We do that every time we come up with any program, operational activity. And of course, we also research economic growth and development. So with that in mind, the budget was proposed and approved. So what we'd like to give you just an accounting so you have an idea. So these are the general fund revenues that the city does collect each year. And what I did was highlight Measure S so you can see how much we've actually been receiving since we started. It was 21-22 the first year. Yeah. Okay. So Measure S, first year, we got 49 million. Following year, we got 52. Now, in the prior year, projected year, and our sales tax consultant was saying that sales tax hasn't been all that great. So people were either shopping, saving money, not buying goods. So to date, and that is accurate, we've received 15 million. However, we are hoping that this current year, our economy is going to bounce back and it is going to grow. And what I also wanted to point out is based on the resolution that was approved for Measure S, it is part of the general fund. So when we propose it to council, as you can see, we propose all general fund revenues. So our total general fund revenue that we're projecting in the prior year that just ended was 218 million. However, this current year, we think it's going to be 200. These are projections, these are our estimates based on either past history, expected future economic development and growth, and this is what we propose. Likewise, when we do propose the revenues, this is now our expense budget summary. As you can see highlighted, 24-25, it was proposed and approved. Our general fund budget is 237.4 million, of which 53 million from Measure S helps support all these operating departments. However, we had read the resolution and it says that we were to provide the Measure S committee and accounting of the revenues and the expenditures. So we're going to look into that. And next quarter, when we do this, we will pull out revenue and expense just for Measure S so you can see it separately from the overall general fund budget. So with that in mind, we wanted to show you highlights for 24-25 because Measure S is also supporting all these activities.
Just a question, just like as you're saying, we had made a vote under the Measure S committee that we would have an itemized expenditure for where the funds went so that it was not general. So do you have that notation?
Yes, I do. Like I said, we were discussing that. Unfortunately, prior to me coming, I think it was always consolidated.
Yes.
So we're hoping on our next quarter, we will have that broken out and we will be able to provide to you.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Just have one quick question before we get into the department highlights. Are we dipping into reserves to cover the revenue and expenditure gap? The general fund, it's 236 to 237.
Yeah, the current year, yes.
Okay.
If you, maybe I should have added that. What we're expecting to return to the pot, meaning revenues less expenditures in 24 is $11 million. Of that 11, we are going to use 900,000.
Okay, to bridge the gap.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification, Commissioner, please wait to be recognized before you speak. Thank you.
All right, so again, my name is Sui Ruiz, Budget Manager. So we'll go into some of the department highlights, and this is really where the budget, the focal points and kind of the things that we want to make sure stand out, specifically because Measure S does support some of these front-facing public departments. So police, as you know, there was some strategic initiatives set forth by the mayor and city council, and that was the quality of life team. And so Measure S is specifically supporting in the general fund, the addition of a quality of life team, which is the 1 sergeant, 1 detective, and police officers. And then for general government as well, we've also entered into a regional partnership with surrounding cities for our animal services. And so out of general government, we do transfer into the animal services fund in order to help support that. With the regional partnership, we are being reimbursed by those partner cities. And so 47% of those expenses are being reimbursed by those partner cities. In finance, we are replacing the financial accounting system. We've had that ERP system for about 10+ years. And so it's time to update and renovate. And so with that, the ERP system is being funded by ARPA, and that project is expected to take about 18 to 24 months, and that is currently underway. Library, with general fund and Measure S too, there's a replacement of 140 computers that are happening right now for the library. And so Measure S is definitely supporting that expenditure. This is gonna be public and staff computers to ensure that our community has access to computers. No, go for it.
Okay, can I add to the library, the reason we had to do this? I don't know if the Measure S committee was aware several months ago, the library system was hacked. I mean, it pulled it down. So a lot of things they're doing manually now. Our IT is working on that to get them up and running and all connected. And definitely be protected so they can't be invaded again by hackers.
So what was,
Commissioner Moreno.
yes, thank you. So what was the compromise that happened once our library system was hacked?
Compromise meeting, well, it was shut down and it has not gone up yet, yeah. Again, our IT is still working on that, so unfortunately at this time, everything has to be done manually. If you would like to borrow a book or take out anything, you have to go into the library itself, show your library card and shoot. But they, like I said, IT is working really hard to get this up and running to make it easy, yeah, because even I'm used to online borrowing, online reading, and at this moment they are unable to do so. But this will definitely help.
You got one question, can you go back to the slide? So the adult education investment, is that resources, is that classes, books, materials? Also the increased staff for the branch libraries and expansion of hours? How many staff were increased through that increase?
So specifically for staff, that is one full-time library technician, if I'm recalling correctly. And for the adult education, that's various programmatic enhancements. And so whether it's addition of programs or it's just being able to bring in much more resources, if it's books, different things that the library rolls out. I do know that they also have several flyers, and that's also newsletters and flyers, I believe, that they send out to the community to let them know that there are enhancements to programs and that there's more programs being rolled out, not only for our youth, but also for the adults as well. Parks and Recreation, we have our director here. So Measure S is definitely supporting some of the special events we're throwing, or we're having in the community. Some of these consist of Festival, Miracle on Court Street. Altogether, there's a combination of 192,000 that's been increased for these special events. And I'm sure our director would be happy to expand on that. And definitely enhancing youth sports. So there is enhancements to the youth sports. So the youth in our community can have a safe haven to come and get active in the community. As well as public works. So again, strategic initiatives were set forth. And so biohazard cleanup agreements and weed abatement agreements have been set forth with that and is being supported. And there's also an evaluation of the fleet program. Currently there's we have a fleet agreement, but there is also a possibility of a replacement fund.
Yes, just to add to that, if you think it in reference to police officer vehicles, the wear and tear on them are really hard. So what we would like to do, instead of, let's say a vehicle runs its life of 5 to 7 years, instead of going back to council saying, please give us funding for a new vehicle and all the things that get added, we want to start a replacement fund, so we'll start already saving that money. So come time to replace, there are already funds available, instead of having to dip into future general fund revenues.
So question about the evaluation of the fleet program, does that also cover police cars that's in accidents, things like that?
Yes.
Or is that, or Or does that fund come from an insurance claim that will replace that vehicle?
It depends, but our standard replacement fund should be for any and all replacements. So if one was as a result of an accident and we got, like you said, settlement money, as a result of that, those funds will go into the fund just to add to it. The fund itself is, yes, to set aside monies for the replacement of, and the way we can set this up, we can categorize those revenues, whether it's money we're setting aside, money we receive from settlements, or money received from elsewhere, so we know which pot to pick from when we're doing said replacement of a particular vehicle.
Also, are we looking at through the evaluation fleet program, are we looking at hybrid, eco-friendly, talk about our carbon footprint when we buy vehicles, especially when we talk about in the city? When we're talking about from that perspective, I know a standard police vehicle is a different price than a standard Ford, right? Because you
That's
gotta
correct.
add all the other different
Yes,
things.
because there are a few things that we do add on to it,
Right.
and that is part of it. The city currently is actually looking to come up with what we refer to as an asset management system. So we do have a consultant that is going to work with us, so we can send out a request for proposal. And like you said, itemize all the specs that you were talking about to say, this is what we're looking for, you know, how can you help us get it to that? Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ryan.
I just have a question about the weed abatement agreement. Does that refer to city property only, private property, abandoned fields, and how does it work?
Normally, our weed abatement agreement program is for city property. However, if there are properties that are either abandoned, not maintained, especially vacant properties that might be a health hazard, anything. And I will have to verify with the public works director, but if it becomes a health hazard, we clean it up, make it safe for the community, and then we build the owner for it. And if, we can invite the public works director to expand on that at our next meeting.
And follow up, is it just public works handling the actual weed abatement, or do contracts go out to, say, Inland Empire Landscape and?
I don't want to say that. I would assume that it is city and they also contract out. Yeah, I mean,
You're not just public works.
It's a combo.
yeah.
Oh, combination.
It's a
Yeah, so
combination.
for our parks, we'll usually have our park operations team that will work to handle, but large sites are always with a contractor.
Because they were there cleaning up at the mural and they were executing a very good job.
Oliver?
Yeah, I have a question regarding your fleet program and depreciated assets. Like, do you guys have a depreciated asset fund where each of these departments are tracking month on month what the ongoing expense would be?
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to look at that, get back to you. As you can see, replacement fund, we're gonna create. Are you thinking it's the same as a replacement fund, the
Yeah.
depreciation fund?
Yeah, but we're looking at like the number of vehicles and over time you're strategically budgeting out the depreciated asset.
Yeah, like I said, we probably would need public works here to provide that information.
And to be honest with you, I'm looking at like all assets, even the police vehicles, every time we add a new like staffing for police cars, they all want a car to drive around. So I just want to make sure that we're taking that into account as well. It's not just the FTEs.
Yes, it shouldn't be. Like you said, each not just police officers, your code enforcements need business license, yeah. So this replacement fund, when we do create it and support it, it will be for all vehicles, all equipment, even equipment that is used on, I'd like to think, street maintenance, street repair, if we do have them. You know, those that we contract out, no, those aren't ours, but for those that we do have, there should be a full equipment replacement fund.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wonder?
Yes. As we're speaking of this plan right now, are you devising the plan and then you'll bring it back to this board, or who is approving it and who's seeing it before approval?
At this time, we do have a consultant that is working with our Public Works Department to come up with the specifications of what we want, what we need, how we need it. I believe our process is once they are done, it goes out to an RFP. We review that. When it comes back, it goes to City Council for approval. And what we can do is provide this committee with an update in that process.
Okay, and just another question for the weed abatement, that is processed. I had put in a call to our police department yesterday for a home that was seemed to be troubled and having maybe some individuals be in there. But they mentioned for code enforcement, they didn't say public works. So is code enforcement is the one that people need to call for, like if homeless or unhoused individuals is going into a home and weeds are growing about a house, is it public works or code enforcement? I just wanna know.
Something specifically for unhoused individuals, that would be code enforcement, that would be considered nuisance abatement.
Okay,
This is weed abatement is specifically for beautification purposes and landscaping, yes.
thank you.
Commissioner David?
Thank you. I just wanted to, give some kudos for implementing this fleet replacement program, the replacement fund. Commissioner Olivas, talked about this kind of appreciation, depreciation, excuse me, and I think that's a very wise move to plan ahead so that when we've got a vehicle that's going to be run its useful life in 5 years, you're setting aside money every year for the next 5 years so that you can just flow right into it without having to make any drastic changes. So I applaud that.
Can we go back one slide to the Parks and Recs? So enhancing the youth sports, question for you. So is that for all the parks or is it one central location where all the youth sports are being kind of headquarters?
That is citywide, and the biggest enhancements is bringing on contract instructors and being able to teach and coordinate more clinics and introductory sports, so that way kids have an opportunity and an avenue to continue growing in the sport.
Question for you, during the summer, were there any swimming lessons provided for youth in our city?
It was over 3,582. Yes, also lessons and all free or low cost, $5.
Vice Chair Chavez?
I have a question. From the remaining budget that was left over from our last meeting, we had allocated, I believe, 10,000 to the community children who could not afford these programs, and you still had a remaining budget left over. I think it was like 9,000, or you only spent 2,500?
8,500
Oh,
Yeah.
8,500 left
left
over.
over.
So how much of that was spent this summer?
I guess that's what I'm gonna do in the update,
Okay.
so I'll get to that.
Great, so lastly, we have so liability and workers' compensation, so we're bringing these up to just regular spending levels in this adopted budget. And then IT, so we're doing several enhancements citywide for IT. This is to be able to upgrade the infrastructure that we have, again, like our ERP system. IT also needs updating, and so we have that infrastructure enhancements to cybersecurity to kind of prevent some stuff that similar that happened to libraries. So we're taking precautions with that, and then just replacement of critical hardware citywide. And then this is just a snapshot of the overall operating budget, and so highlighted in blue on the top, you'll see the total proposed revenues. This was adopted, and so 331.6 million altogether. Total proposed expenditures was 312.4 million. So altogether, it is not necessarily a balanced budget, but it's well balanced.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes, I just wanted to check in, maybe you stated, so I'm just wanted to ask, but we have such limited lighting. On our west end and whatnot, is there any public works lighting that's gonna be placed throughout our city for enhancement of our lighting?
Yes, so I believe in this upcoming council meeting for tomorrow, actually. There are several agreements that are being proposed to the mayor and city council for lighting specifically. And so there are contracts that are being put into place to make sure that the city is being more proactive with that.
Thank you.
Commissioner David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question on the previous slide. Looks like our insurance premiums are going up pretty substantially. Is this a factor of the whole statewide insurance premiums going up? Are there things that anything to share about just that size of an increase?
Yes, definitely insurance premiums. This is being seen nationwide, as well as just the liability claims. So this is a combination of both. And so this isn't specifically just for insurance, but again, this is to bring it to accurate spending levels. On an annual basis, it seems that there's adjustments that need to occur in mid-year to be able to address both insurance premiums and liability. And so we just want to make sure that we're budgeting appropriately to be, again, proactive with budget.
Okay, so part of our budget also is the CIP. So we wanted to show you for the current year that was approved for general fund, and as you know, that measure supports a lot of CIP projects. That's why we wanted to highlight. For the current year, 3.5 was requested and approved in the current budget for a total of 13.2. So I hope you can see it. So these are the projects that are actually being supported at 3.5 million. So $1 million is going to the California Theater renovation, another $1 million for Nicholson Park. If you'll notice, Nicholson Park has 11.3 million of a balance. Those are funded by other funds. Yeah. And then 25,000 for the Ann Shirella Park gazebo. Did I get that right? Yeah.
That's right.
1.3 for Spiker Park improvements. And again, as you can see, it has a balance of other funding. Is that the 28th? 28th Street traffic calming for 170 and 70 for the median on Rialto at the Metro Lake Railroad crossing. Yeah.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes, I just wanted to know, how did we go about the assessment of the funding for each park?
How did we go? I'm sorry.
As far as allocating funds for parks improvement, and how did you go about getting like Ann Sherrill's, I guess, is 25,000. And then Spiker, and their amounts. How did you go about differentiating those?
All of these projects that are listed, at least as far as parks, is included. We have designs that came in at a certain budget, and so with our other funds first, those were the funds that were used, and then remaining balances is where we went back and said, this is where we need funding to finish this project. The Ann Sherrill's gazebo actually came up as kind of like a last minute thing that there had been some damage done to it, and we had already invested some money in it, so that was the balance of what was needed to finish the job.
Just to add, Commissioner, so you're right, when we need to do a project, you know, they come up with a plan, we have a cost. What our staff also does is they look for grants that maybe this can be, we can apply for, funding that's provided by the county or state. And like she said, if we've exhausted those and we still need addition based on the estimate, then we request it out of the general fund. So that actually concludes just our budget presentation, so you're aware of our 24-25 budget in a nutshell. Do you have any additional questions? No. And like I said, we will be providing a quarterly update.
Commissioner Oliva?
I think my question for you guys is, do you guys happen to do any surveying, like after these initiatives are complete? Like surveying your constituents that utilize it, like, and getting their feedback on whether or not it was implemented to, their expectation? I know this happens in other cities, so I just wanted to see if you guys happen to do that for these initiatives that are Measure S and strategic and focused on the community.
For park CIP projects, the park projects are designed and implemented specifically on community needs assessments that are done. But moving forward, our master plan will have actually a full prioritized listing that's from a statistically valid survey of over 10,000 people. And those are by high needs, medium needs, there are no low needs in the city. And then we go by also cost estimate and then also equity mapping. And so once those are all done, we're kind of already using the needs to at least dive in and prioritize. And then once programming starts, then it goes into a business plan model of like, are we meeting the needs that we're set?
I think I was referring to like post implementation, like their feedback after the work's been all done, that you got their buy-in, that they were sold on it, all of the work that was completed and the money spent.
I guess I'm confused by the question, if we're doing that and we're giving the estimate once the needs have come in.
Yeah, like customer, like not customer satisfaction, but constituent satisfaction. They're happy with the initiatives that you guys completed.
Okay, with the prioritized needs, got it. At this time, we fit the needs according to the community or fit the priority list according to the community needs. It's definitely something we can implement. I know with the program specific, we do that because we do a post survey. With CIPs, those are kind of like, once it's done, we built it to what was asked to be built. But I don't see a reason why we wouldn't be able to do a post survey after that with constituent feedback.
Yeah, just to highlight and remind the community, like, hey, you did what you asked for, are you satisfied? And just get that general information coming in, because they might give you more additional feedback and future enhancements to focus on through those surveys.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Ryan?
With staying true to the language of Measure S, I said this prior to. The language specifically also said for homeless services programs, and I see limited funding going to those needs that are in our community. And I know that, reading articles that we were allotted 4.6 million for an encampment, funding and another $35 million grant through the state. So where is that in the budget I'm a constituent, I live here, and so I see it all the time, and I was hoping it would be on this budget because it is a great need for our community. So staying true to the language Measure S, I would like to see that. Right.
So that will be part of the quarterly update that we give you. Like we said, we do want to work internally to make sure that we're being transparent with expenditures. And so part of those expenditures will reflect the housing specific needs. I do also want to add that we do have grants specific for housing and homelessness. And so we have a large portion of our ARPA dollars dedicated to housing and homelessness initiatives.
And in answer to your question, yes, you are correct, we did get a $75 million for housing and homelessness. What we can do is invite the city manager's office, because they are currently running that grant, and they can actually provide a much better detail if that is the commission's request.
I would just in regards to our funds, the Measure S funds going to homeless service programming, and I haven't seen that annual financial report yet. So to be correct, is there money from Measure S being spent on that at this current moment?
Yeah, it should be, but like I said, at this point, the Measure S money of the 53 million is part of this 200 million pot that is now being spent on all these programs. So what we are going to do, you're right, is internally pull out those that are specific to Measure S, as stated in the commission's objectives and the goals, and what this fund should be prioritized for. And we are hoping at the next quarter that we have that. Now, additionally, the commission's request was to meet quarterly. We do not have to tie ourselves to that. If you would like to meet more often, that is on the commission. So that would be after Parks gives her update, we can take a look at that proposed calendar, and if you would like to
Yes.
change it, we can do so.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes, just to look at the CIP budget, and I just wanted to know, I know we have on page 12, the storm drains on the funds. Is that specifically for a particular ward, or is that something that's spread out throughout?
That would be citywide, and that prioritization is set by our Public Works Department. There is a specific storm drains fund too, so there is specific money that we see come into the city for that. And so if there's ever any need to ask of Measure S or general fund to support it, then that's when a specific storm drain project would be allotted to Measure S or general fund.
Yeah, is that gonna be the same as the pavement plan that's coming for the city? Is that tied to the storm drain plan? Cause I know Azam was talking about it in a meeting that I was in about, I know the city is gonna do a citywide pavement kind of schedule.
That is correct. Now, the citywide pavement plan schedule that they were going to do is actually looking at all the streets. Giving them a measure, let's say from 1 to 10, which is the worst, and then coming up with a plan of which streets they're going to pave first, how and when and when it's funding.
And our Parks and Rec director brought up a great point when we talk about equity mapping, right? So moving forward, I think it'll be in the best interest of this committee to understand when we talk about, you know, where funds are allocated, especially to our parks and our different wards. I think, you know, health and wellness is a true component. I think when we talk about families and bringing families together, you know, I just think about, you know, certain neighborhoods I'm able to go and see families walking in parks. They're well lit, they're secure. So I think, you know, definitely when we talk about equity, I think that's something this commission should definitely be looking into. When we talk about infrastructure of our parks, you know, and then I know, you know, safety is definitely a part of public safety. I know it's been conversation of, you know, hiring different individuals, private security for our parks in the city. So I think that's definitely something that we need to look at as well.
Yes, on that CIP budget on page 12, when you have building, is the 13, is that the California Theater renovation building? Is that those buildings are the funding's going to, or is it some other buildings?
That would be on page number 13, that gives you the breakdown. So 1 million will go to California Theater renovation and 1 million will go to Nicholson Park Community Center, phase 2 of that project.
Any other questions? On to Parks Program update.
Well, thank you all for having me back. I was asked to come and provide an update on our Measure S Youth Enrichment Scholarship Program. We call it our YES program. Our why is the first thing that we want to make sure that you all know, especially those of you who are new to the committee. So it's to continue providing financial support to families and enables access to educational, recreational, or cultural activities that might not otherwise be a viable option. At our last meeting, there was recommendations that came from you guys for us to take a review of our very cumbersome application. So I have kind of a redlined application that I'd like for you all to see. I'm not gonna go detail by detail. This is a very summarized overview, but I just want you guys to know that we are doing the work that you have asked us to do. And what we plan on doing moving forward with the YES program. So when we first came to give you guys an update, it was found that out of the $10,000 that was provided by the Measure S committee, that only $1,500 of it had been spent. And the findings were pretty simple. People didn't know how to register for it, they didn't know what was available, they didn't know what to do with it. And quite frankly, with our high turnover in our staff, I didn't even know we had this scholarship until 1.5 years of even being on the job. That's how little of the communication and information was brought down. So I was very excited once I left this meeting to be able to go back and completely renovate what we had done. And so today I'm really gonna go over everything you guys recommended, and even give you guys some suggestions that have come from staff that are really dealing with these families, especially those that are in need. So the top 5 things that you guys recommended for us was number 1, to really eliminate those registration barriers. When we talked to you guys last, there was people who, it might have been a language barrier, it might have been a financial barrier, it might have just been embarrassed to come and say, I need help, right? The other thing was what we were asking for. So when it was first brought to me, it was like, hey, this is, they need to prove that they need financial assistance. So it was, show us your tax returns, which is gonna be really overwhelming for somebody. And so we looked at kind of those things. The second was, when do you register? When is this available? How does it work? So we've now created what I'll go over as our registration dates. Third was increasing program availability. One of the things that I brought forward to the committee was, this was when I first came on, explained to me as only for youth athletics, which immediately created a barrier because there's some people who don't want to do sports. There's people who want to do arts. There's people who want to do all sorts of things. So we wanted to make sure that we increased our program availability for the scholarship. Fourth was providing opportunities for coaching, training, and contract instruction, which was something that we all said, we can all come up with some really great programs, but we're not specialized in teaching the program. And so how can we use Measure S funds to pay to bring in some really great instructors? And then number 5 was developing outreach efforts citywide. We were very limited before, word of mouth, a flyer here and there. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. So the very first thing is eliminating those registration barriers. And these are the things that we've really focused on really being user friendly. So number 1 is no limit of children. If a adult caretaker, parent, grandparent, as long as you're the mama bear, papa bear, taking care of these kids, and you want them to be doing something positive in a recreational opportunity, we're not going to give you a limit on how many is per household. Number 2 is no proof of financial need through tax returns. Basically at this point, we just need your benefits card. So if you have a WIC card, whatever it is, you're just going to show us. All we need to see is the card, your name, and does that name match your ID, and does that ID match what you got on the application? It's that simple. We have found this type of process to be extremely effective in our swim lesson program. We were recipients of the Red Cross Centennial Grant, which is a 3-year grant to provide free swim lessons year-round. And so once we got that information and we saw how quickly people started to come in, we're like, okay, this is definitely going to be something we do. ID requirement. We just need the name and the address to match what's on the application, and we need to make sure that you are a resident. So this scholarship is for residents only. But remember, if the person who's registering is resident and they say, or resident, and they say they have 8 kids, we're gonna give those 8 kids that opportunity. We're not gonna say only 4 if you can, right? And then finally is awareness at program time of registration. So what that means is we looked at our customer service models. We were waiting for people to come in and say, I need help. And that wasn't happening, right? And so now our approach is much more customer service friendly. When people come in to register, we say, do you know we have this program? And do you know that you're most likely eligible for it? And so we're giving it to them right up front. So then that way they know. And most people will have their ID on them. Most people will have their benefits card on them as well. And so it makes it a whole lot simpler for us to just completely eliminate those registration barriers. So I think that's going to be a huge asset to us. Next slide, please. The second was creating registration dates in a system. So what we've done now is really started to look at when people were coming in, and we were chasing people because we wanted to be able to provide these scholarships, right? So it was like, oh, we have a huge, youth sports league that's starting. here, let's do this, right? And so now what we decided is we are gonna have a date of registration open, where you just have to come in now, and instead of listing every program you wanna be a part of, you just have to tell us that you need financial assistance for programs year round. You come in, you fill out that application between July 1st and October 31st. We automatically create your account in our registration software, and each child in your account gets $100 credit. You can use it whenever you want for that year. Okay, so that's the registration dates. Class option dates. You can register starting July 1st through October 31st. As soon as your credit is in, you're free to go. You've got registration options for anything that is open for registration from July 1st through May 31st. And the reason that we do that is, having worked in other agencies that have done scholarships like this, we found that it's really important that parents sometimes forget, their caretakers don't know that registration for summer camp starts in the spring. And so we wanna make sure that we do final call outs. Hey, in April, on April 1, they're gonna start getting letters, emails, and we're gonna start doing postings that are saying, hey, if you haven't used your credit, you've got one more month to use it, so use it, right? Because what we don't wanna do is just leave money on account, because it's just a credit, right? And so the reason we'll do that is May 31st is the last day for them to actually participate in a program. Or register for a program, and then we return credits starting June 1st through June 30th. And what that means is whatever credit they had on their account, we bring it back and we're able to use it for contract instruction right before summer or whatever it might be, something that's gonna be that last push. And everybody goes back to zero, and then we start all over again. And by doing this, we're gonna be able to present to you a much cleaner budget that says, we truly brought in this many registrations. We truly had a much greater need in this type of activity versus that. And I think you guys are gonna really appreciate the data that comes out of that. Next slide. Number 3 is increasing program availability. This is probably the biggest change that we've done. So this is what we're calling a full brochure registration approach. That means anything that is listed in our activities guide is now eligible for yes. Okay, so that could be special events, way beyond athletics now. Now we're diving into STEM. It definitely increases program activities citywide, right? And so there might be somebody on the west end who wants to do some type of dancing that's maybe not offered on one side of town. We can now start to see where we might need to build those programs. But the 2 biggest parts that I'm excited to introduce is that we are now able to work with the Center for Individual Development and start to include special needs and adaptive programming also. Those costs can come into it. So very excited. And then finally, a full family approach. If there's a caretaker that also wants to be active, why not provide them $100 credit as well? So when their kids are participating in something, they can get some mental health and do an activity as well that's for adults. And so the full family approach is really exciting. We noticed at our special event, specifically the last festival, we introduced as a pilot program the tickets for the carnival, but we had them at such a low cost. And if Measure S can provide that positive family experience for $25, that's a huge win, because the impact that that makes is so great, and it really comes back as a return on investment for us. Next slide, please. Number 4 is providing opportunities for coaching, training, and contract instruction. And so this is very basic. Contract instructors are those to teach specialty classes. So think something like photography, art, technology. We're looking at building some gaming rooms possibly. And so drone flying, anything that could also be career development will be included in these types of programs. Coaching for sports and clinics for introductory sports and leagues. This is by far our biggest area of programming right now. As you all know, hopefully you all know, if you don't, I'd love to give you a tour. Dodger Dream Fields were built, they're awesome, they're at Blair Park. We have a fabulous relationship with the LA Dodger Foundation, and they have now brought back to our plate to consider being part of their dream team. And that's a huge, huge, huge win for the city. What that means is they will come in and provide a fully funded sports, baseball, softball league for the city. And that means all equipment, everything put into that. They even give us a grant for paying coaches, but with an enhancement for Measure S, we bring in more money to be more competitive, to bring high-level coaches from different colleges, from different baseball teams during their off season to actually be here in San Bernardino to teach our kids the best of the best. So that's really, really exciting. Beyond that, other coaching elements that kind of came up, which I absolutely love. There's some really cool new stuff happening for the boomer generation and the older generation. We have senior boxing, gold, Zumba Gold, and things like that, where you need to have a specialized instruction or certificate. So we're able to bring those types of programs as well into our senior center. So we really are hitting every generation now with this Measure S Yes. And then finally, training for staff to enhance our service levels. I put the WSII, which is a water safety instructor, and I know that sounds a little convoluted, but pretty much you have to become an instructor to teach the instructor. And we pay a lot of money to get our staff certified as WSIs, and to have one person would save us a couple $1,000s each year. And so this would be our first training service that we would ask for Measure S, the Measure S funding that you provided to us, because then that helps us in a sense, teach more swim lessons, keep the community safer, and then it just kind of continues to roll. The other type of training, last year, Measure S, we approved them to use $800 of the Measure S funding to be able to go to the SMAP conference, which is the Southern California Municipal Athletic Federation. And this is where they learn concussion training, this is where they learn ethics in sports, working as umpires, everything that we need to make sure that not only are we providing the service, but our level of service as far as how we provide that service and what our expectations are and what our standards of excellence are met. And so that's really where that comes in. Next slide. And then finally, developing outreach efforts citywide. As you all know, I should have brought you some, now I feel like a horrible parks director. We have an awesome new brochure. It's called Living Life San Bernardino. This goes out to over 75,000 households. So the Yes Scholarship has its own ad in there, so people know that it is available. So that's number one. Number two is we now have a partnership with the school district, finally, after 3 years of doing this. We are finally doing this, and so they are willing to help us advertise our programs and advertise our scholarships as well. So that's going to be a huge plus for us. We have our own printer, so now we're able to add banners that are at the community center sites where Yes programs will be available. And then finally, we're gonna do a PSA. So we are actually gonna start filming PSAs, and you guys are gonna absolutely love this, but it's gonna be an option for those who participated in the program to be on video and talk about their experience through the Yes Scholarship. So there's that return on investment when we do that. And that'll be on our social media and our website. And just to give a shameless plug, our Instagram was voted 15th in the nation. We are the top 15 in the entire nation of interaction for Parks and Recreation Department social media. So that's pretty exciting. Next slide. So we have $10,000. We are obviously, like I said, we're growing our interest and continue to have that momentum. These are the recommendations that our staff came together and said, this is kind of how we would split our funding. Before it was 100% program registration, and that was not effective, right? And so we kind of sat down and said, okay, let's break it down. And these, I'm gonna be honest, came from a lot of our part-time staff who are the face of our facilities, who take the registrations, who are dealing with the needs, and the asks from parents and caregivers. And so 40% of it would go to program registration, 20% of it would go to that training that we talked about, and then 40% would be that contact instruction, where we bring in specialized folks to teach the excellent programs that we're talking about. So the highlights really that we're looking for in 24-25 is number one, a much easier application process. You will see there's a lot of red on this application. So that's gone, which I'm super excited about. I like 2-page applications, not 10-page applications. More programs, more options, the registration dates that will allow for just interest to come through, increased participant ages, like I said, and options and abilities, right? And so our special needs adaptive programming, as well as our senior age, and then increasing outreach with the school district and adding that PSA for social media. And last slide. So the recommendation pretty much is this: is we've asked finance to consider the carryover for 8,500. Wink, wink. And then obviously asking you all to just consider to continue the annual allocation of the 10,000, because we know it's going to continue to grow. We know it wasn't perfect in the past, but we really didn't have the staff infrastructure to just really look at it from a macro level and say, okay, what is it that we really need to break this down? So it has now been broken down bare bones. We are super excited about it, and we hope you guys are excited about it. And that concludes the presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Question for you. I know we talked about this last time, and maybe since we have the partnership with the school district, we can probably try to make this happen. Or even, the summer lunch program, through the Parks and Recs. I remember when I was a youth and it was a summer lunch program, we used to be able to go to the parks. And I think that made more people kind of be involved in those different programs. Is there an opportunity, next summer?
Yeah.
to-
We brought it back.
Oh,
It was
brought it
there
back?
this summer. I listened to, it wasn't part of Metro, so I didn't add it in there, but no, we had the summer lunch program back at 6 facilities this summer, so we were jamming it. Everybody loved it. The kids loved it. It amped up our camp program numbers, so we will definitely be continuing it. We actually have the year-round program as well, looking to start at 2 of our centers.
It's amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Fay, for listening to us and going back and strategically getting it and implementing it and having some wonderful details to bring back to us and saying that it's working. And that's what's so wonderful about what we can do is to share with you, and then so that we're working together. Our whole idea is for the community to receive the benefits and to be trained. It's excellent that the Dodgers is being a part of it. And it's excellent that we can be able to hire some professionals to be able to train our students, because they're successful one and they're very talented, and we can produce more professionals from our city. So thank you so very much. Appreciate you.
I just want to add, Lydia, I think it's great that you're broadening the scope of the program, including the full family approach and seniors, because they're often overlooked in this tiny area. And that's just perfect. It's great. I like what you've done.
Awesome, thank you.
Commissioner Ryan.
So I love your enthusiasm and I wanted to pour more money into the program. But in reality, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The parks, how they're looking with the homeless encampments and things like that, it's not quite inviting to families to enjoy the parks. So what can we do as a commission to support your vision of bringing back the parks to us? How much money would that you?
You got that number?
And I'm thinking because I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't want my child at the park.
No, you bring up a good point. So let me back it up a little bit. So number one is obviously the elephant in the room is the injunction. We are days away from having this injunction lifted. And I know PE, Public Works, and everybody else who's been involved in the city manager's office included have been working tirelessly. There is a plan in place. So as soon as that injunction is lifted, I promise you the plan will be implemented and you will see quick change. So that's gonna be number one. I look at it as infrastructure though. So we have to look at it as where these programs are going to be. If I, take the homeless element out of my picture, because that's not what's happening inside the community center. It's the programming that I wanna have, and we have to be inviting and safe in order for families to come in. So we have done beautification projects. And so if you look at Hernandez, for example, if you look at Lytle Creek, for example, both of those sites are heavy program sites that have had a lot of attention from how the parking lot looks. Can you park safely? Is there lighting? What is the walkway up into the center? How do the doors open? Are the windows clean? Those basic things that as a mom, I look at, what am I bringing my child into? Then once I walk in, what do the restrooms look like? What is the security like? All of those elements at our program sites that are happening for Measure S are there. So I am confident with those enhancements, plus the injunction being lifted and the enhancements coming through with the cleanups and the plan in place, that we will be very successful with this. Now, if I were to give you a magic number, I can't give you a magic number, but what I can tell you is if you continue to fund and support and advocate for programs, especially in Parks and Recreation, and that doesn't include things on the inside, that includes our trail system, that includes things that don't always get funding. A lot of people look at funding for CIPs for, the pretty things, the big community centers, but the reality is people love to just go walk. We saw that during the pandemic. And so if I could ever give you, the areas where you could provide extra funding into, it's marketing, making sure that our brochure always has funding to be printed. Right now, we can only print 2 of the 3 cycles. So looking at what kind of funding would be available for that in future years, and then also looking at outdoor and open space. What are some other areas where the city can enhance its trail mileage, where we can enhance our bike spaces, where we can look at what other ways that families are coming together where you don't have to spend money, but yet you can still improve your quality of life and feel safe.
Another question, what's the total amount of parks we have in San Bernardino?
33, not counting, well, some unincorporated little neighborhoods, I'd say 38 if you want to really get technical.
I think when we came up with this small budget, we didn't consider all parks and the numbers and that's what I think we would like to see as well, because we were looking at the true language of Measure S.
Mhm.
And it said youth programs, but there's also seniors who go to your park. There's gonna be homeless who might need services as well, or families who are borderline homeless.
Yes.
So those are things that we would like to take into consideration to increase the monies that will pour into your parks.
I love that. I would recommend that we do a year of what we've proposed. Let's look and see at the success of the sites that we're providing this at, and let me come back at you with a recommendation of how we can grow and give you a 3-year plan.
Sounds good. Thank you.
To Commissioner Maya's point, so if you're gonna bring that back, what assessment tools do you have in place to assess what the $10,000 that we're allotting is doing to measure success? So when you come back, because you could say, I gave out 1,000 flyers. But out of 1,000 flyers, how many families came, how many programs were received? So what assessment tool do you have in place?
We have 3. So the first is our customer service registration desk, right? How did you hear about it? Or if they didn't hear about it, now that you know about it, would you recommend it to a friend? So that's number 1. Number 2 is our brochure has QR codes, so we can find interest just by somebody scanning the QR codes, so we'll be able to have QR code data. And then number 3 is gonna be obviously our registration numbers, where we see how many people actually participated. The post survey of that is to look at somebody who has participated in the YES program, they will not be eligible to re-register the next year until they've completed the survey. So we're gonna get true data of like if they truly benefited from it, then are we able to collect that data? And then also are we able to kind of give some testimonials and some return on investment of, if, we got the next Shohei Ohtani over at Dreamfield. We wanna make sure that the city recognizes that was because of Measure S helping us out.
So you broke down the staff recommendations, splitting the funding source. So when we proposed the 10,000, that was for the children, I believe. Should we discuss an allocated amount that they're recommending for their staff and registration separate from the children?
I just don't know that because we've only given away 1,500, I don't know that I would feel comfortable saying that we could meet the 10,000 in scholarships. That's kind of why we proposed it. We want to just be able to use the full 10,000 the first year and really see after we evaluate what that looks like, how we could then say, maybe we need 8,000 for registration and 10,000 more for contract instruction. We want to kind of see how that looks. That's just my 2 cents.
And what's your enrollment? So from this last quarter of the summer programs, how many did you enroll in? Yes.
We didn't enroll anybody because we were making the changes that you guys recommended. So this would be our first, technically in July, we were supposed to start, so we'll extend the registration dates to November just to be able to really get this first year going.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement. I think after the assessments are done and the recommendations come back, we can kind of definitely make a informed decision on the data that you collect, right? Because I think, as you said, if we allot you $30,000, but if you don't need it,
Right.
We're definitely have to be stewards of the Measure S funds as well when we're making decisions. So I think, the more data, the more information that, our experts in the room can provide, so we can make a very informed decision, I think will be beneficial.
I'd like to ask too, is if there is a need if we see that we've spent it and we're in need of more, to have that ability to come to you mid-year and say, hey, we've met it, so what can we do about it kind of situation? That'd be great for you guys to have that information as well. And then also, as far as the equity mapping, I didn't want to lose the opportunity. All of our survey findings for our master plan are all public record. And so if you go to mysvparks.org, .com, mysvparks.com, you'll see that has all of our master plan information, everything that we've done, every survey, all of the findings. And as we continue to finish our reports, the consultant continues to upload that, and that will really become a hub for this information. And my goal is to put then Measure S funding and any other reliable funding sources for continued programs to enhance master plan needs, to be able to put those on that website as well.
Commissioner Olivas,
I have no further comments.
Commissioner Martin,
That was great. Thank you.
any more questions? Thank you. Now we will be talking about our proposed Measure S meeting schedule for the 24-25 year. I know we had a public comment regarding this, and I know it's been, conversations with commissioners. And I think, it's definitely important that we meet, at least once a month, at the minimum for the commission. But I definitely want to hear recommendations from the commission. But I think it's going to definitely take us as commissioners when those emails go out, just, kind of share your availability. So we definitely can come and make sure that we are definitely meeting more regularly. But it definitely takes us as a commission to be available to you. So definitely want to hear your recommendations.
I think it's beneficial for us to just see what the progress is with the city departments and how it's all strategically moving towards Measure S and what is being applicable towards those initiatives as well. So even if it's just follow-ups and updates, it helps us see and be able to speak on behalf of the constituents. When we see different threads come through on social sites, we can speak to it. We can be in alignment with all of the things that are going on. So I'm hoping to once a month.
I'm hoping once a month.
I'll go on once a month. That's fine.
Right?
I don't have a fundamental problem meeting once a month. I just wonder how much new information the staff will be able to provide us if we're meeting on a monthly basis. Knowing that this is it's a finance committee, and the finances of a city are generally looked at, quarterly, mid-year, things like that. So that's my 2 cents on it. But if there's a desire to meet once a month to see how that goes, I'm not going to stand in the way of that at all.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes, I just would like to say, share too, what our commission is very important as, I'm sorry, say your name again. Jeannie, as she brought forth to each and every one of us, we could have different departments bring us something like Parks and Works needed to bring something to us, or another department, in order for us to move forward in some of our decisions. And so I think that that's great time. And what has been happening since we haven't been meeting, just to let you know, is that budgets and different things move forward and we're out and we're not involved in it. And so it's very important that we stay up in front of it instead of behind.
Yes, to Commissioner Martindale's point, I think it's definitely great. I think we definitely want to be transparent with our constituents in our wards. So I think we definitely owe them that. I know it's been some transition in the department, with Ms. Whitehorn going now. So we definitely need to make sure that, we are definitely meeting more regularly, because at the end of the day, things get, rubber stamp, move forward. But I definitely think we need to be a part of that process as well. Because we definitely owe it to, like I said, our constituents in our neighborhoods, in our wards, to definitely be able to convey that information that we're getting in these spaces. So I think it definitely it will benefit. I think it goes back to Commissioner Martindale's. It can be we can have definitely city partners coming in and do presentations definitely for those areas where Measure S funds are going. Those individuals can give us assessment of how they are using those funds. And we can make those wise decisions if those funds should go to those areas in the future as well.
If I may, Commissioners, as Commissioner Daley said, monthly, because this is the finance committee, we may not necessarily be able to provide you what it is you're looking for, and please bear in mind, let's say for the month of June, it takes us 30 days to close that month, and then it'll take us another 15 days to prepare financial reports for you for that month. So if it's June, July, you won't get that till the middle of August, so we're always going to be 45 days behind. It's just something to bear in mind, because that's how long it takes us to close a month, about 30 days. And as you're aware, like sales tax does not come in every month. It's an allocation with 2-year true-ups. That's just the way it works. So what does that mean? We're already spending money July, August. I think our first allocation doesn't come till September. Yeah, that's just the way the Board of Equalization allocates sales tax, and Measure S is part of that. How about, may I suggest every other month?
And I think that's gonna be, to the commission vote, but I think every meeting doesn't have to be a financial meeting. I know this is geared around, but every meeting doesn't have to be a budget overview, right? I think right now, I think this recommendation, you're gonna provide the expenditures of where everything is going. I think that's something that could be ready for our next meeting. But I think it goes back to every meeting doesn't have to be a financial meeting. It can be a presentation, it could be a progress meeting where we're at. I think that would be beneficial.
Definitely.
Commissioner Money.
I have one more question. For the monies that are in general fund, is that only allocated to city entities for programming, or is it for community, not like say nonprofits who want to incorporate a program in like the city parks? So how does that work?
To miss my explanation, and she leave already. So, the city, the general fund, again, this is, as you know, basically taxpayer money. This is what city council has control over, to delegate and allocate. Now, we do delegate that to the departments. Now, the department as one, she can have a program that would allocate it to nonprofits. As long as what we're allocating the program to is a benefit to the city, then it is a good use of public funds, because these are public funds, therefore have to be used for a public purpose, has to enrich the community. Yes. But yes, we do have certain programs like that. So then that would, again, us meaning talking to Liddy in her general fund department budget. Does she have programs where she has what we refer to as subrecipients, where she turns around and awards grants to these? Now, we do have actual grants that are specific to certain projects that do award to nonprofits to promote certain, let's say, community programs. Yeah.
I'll say like a community beautification, like if it's public works and a nonprofit wants to clean up baseline. So would they apply with public works or the city?
I would say the city as a whole, yeah. At this time, you're right, like you said, that's one program. And we can inquire if Public Works does have something like that, and I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I used to have it in our former city. They would apply to the city as a whole. It will go in front of this committee, recommended, then the council, then council's decision.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion to vote on the Measure S Citizens Oversight Committee will meet once a month?
I vote yes.
Motion by Commissioner Olives. Can I get a second?
I vote yes.
Second by Commissioner Amaya. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. I definitely want to give an opportunity for every commissioner if they want to make any announcements before we adjourn. Commissioner Olivas.
I just want to thank the team members with Janine, and the Parks and Rec director and the city as well, just for bringing this all together. I think that the work that you guys do and the other departments do needs to be highlighted, and if it is in alignment with Measure S, the more that we know, the more we can advocate and sing your guys' praises on the hard work that's going on in the city. Thank you.
Commissioner Miranda.
Yes, again, I'd just like to thank the staff for your diligence and coming forth to being ready to provide us with the information that we need. We thank you, and then we look forward to coming together and providing more strategic planning for our city residents through your help. Thank you.
Commissioner Carter.
I'd just like to thank those who presented information here tonight. I especially enjoyed the Parks and Rec presentation by Lee. I know it's such good information for us all to have, and she responded to our needs and concerns. And thank you, Jeannie and Mr. Reeves, so much for your input.
Commissioner Romano.
I would like to thank our guests, Ms. Treasurer, for coming. I would like to see more community faces in here, and the more that speak up, the more change happens. So thank you, and hopefully I encourage others to come on, speak up for the community.
Commissioner David.
Thank you to the staff, and I look forward to working with my colleagues.
Now, definitely echo the sentiments. Thank you for all the staff that put this together, and truly appreciate all the information that you provide. We know it takes a lot of work to get all the numbers together, to provide all the information that we need, and we definitely, it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you for all the hard work that you guys do on a daily basis for our city, which we appreciate. Now I want to adjourn this meeting at 5:25.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
so before we adjourn, since we have now voted that this is going to be once a month, that means in 4 weeks, we will now have our next meeting. Is that the request? And then at that meeting, we are now providing the financial report to track revenue and expenditures related to Measure S. You were wanting additional information on CIP projects. Was that, I believe I thought I heard you wanted to know. Was there anything else that we're missing that you had wanted?
So I think we wanted the expenditures on the specific line items where the
Yes.
Measure S funding
Yes.
is going, right?
Yeah.
And then also to try to remember the other recommendation that we wanted for our next meeting. I think we wanted the city manager, I think was coming to talk about homeless. Was that?
The grant.
A representative from the city manager.
Right. The grant funding that was.
You just wanted a briefing on that.
Yes.
Okay.
And if there, excuse me.
Go ahead. Commissioner.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And if there's any funding that has already been, taken care of, the unhoused individuals, where is that?
For the homelessness, activities.
Where did they go first?
Yeah, we will do that. Just from a staff point of view, at least, if we can do this at the end of each meeting, we come up with the next meeting.
Excellent.
So that you're right, if it's not only financial, if you wanted an update from other departments, they have sufficient time to gather and get ready.
May I make a suggestion? Can we add that to the agenda items for next meeting? So we can kind of talk about this before we adjourn.
And what we'd like to do is also plan ahead. Can we make the assumption, I don't know what week this is, that it will always be this? Is this the third week? What week is this? Yeah, every third week of the month, this way it is consistent. And have Roxy go ahead and do the next schedule, so that will be an item there. You'll have all the monthly meetings.
Is 4 p.m. good for everyone? Just because I know everyone works, so I just want to, do we need to change the time? I know we talked about, we just want to make sure, I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Can we do 4:30, please?
4:30?
Yeah, I get off, right?
Commissioner Daly?
I mean, monthly meetings, third Tuesday, I just need to check, but if we could do it at 5, that would be much easier for me.
So is 5 okay with everyone? Okay.
That's fine.
You're okay with adjournment? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Move to adjourn. So I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 5:28. Thank you so much. You know, it's fine.
All right.
Sorry.